Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Deck Tech for Decks. Today we are going to be doing a deck tech on Celestine Living Saint. But before we get into it, all I ask is that you guys like the video and consider subscribing. The more subscribers I get, the better quality videos I can make for you guys. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the video. This commander striked me as pretty good at first, right? You gain life, you can recur stuff from the graveyard. The only thing is it's mono white. But to my surprise, while I was building this deck, mono white might be viable now, guys. They've added a lot of card draw throughout the years, and these Commander 40k decks have even added some more mono colored support. So white's gonna abuse that as well. There is quite a ways to abuse her ability, right? Like creatures that sacrifice themselves, you know, you sacrifice it, bring it back, sacrifice it, bring it back. There's some of that in the deck, but mostly I think this deck does want to go wide. There's a lot of low to the ground creatures that create tokens and have the ability to go wide, but they're weak, right? So the issue you run into is they always die. But Celestine is going to make sure they all stay on the battlefield, and if they don't, we just recur them. So I think that's the route we're going to go. We're going to go really wide, and then we're going to try to buff our board and swing out for the victory. Alright guys, let's get into those tokens. We've got Adeline Resplendent Cathar. Goes wide, creates tokens, but has a high probability of dying. But we don't care because we're just going to bring her back. Felidar Retreat. Hard not to include it in the deck, right? We're not going to be playing a ton of lands, but whenever we do, we're going to either create a token or buff a whole board. So it does whatever we need at whatever stage in the game. Oketra's Monument. Not only is this going to make our white spells a little cheaper, but it is also going to get us more tokens whenever we cast permanent. So that's really good. Or creature. Leonin War Leader. This is going to be some life gain, and it's going to just make our board wider, right? God Eternal Oketra. Casting creatures. There's a lot of creatures in the deck. We're going to create some 4/4s. Cemetery Protector. Same thing. You're going to want to either exile a creature card or land card. I'd go for a creature card, though. And notably, if we blinker, there we go. We can just do both, and then we'll be creating a bunch of tokens. Legion's Landing. This one, some life gain, some tokens. It's really good in the deck. Tested some air because who doesn't like some indestructible ponies, right? Luminarch Ascension. This card does work, guys. It seems like pretty hard to get off or whatever, but it's really not. And then once you do, 2 mana for a 4/4 angel is insane. Resplendent Angel. This one's just going to enable us to make our board bigger, and if we want to gain some life while doing it, we can activate that ability, but I think there's enough life gain in the deck to where we don't have to do that. The Book of Exalted Deeds, this one just, your commander will trigger it because her power is 3, so that one works, and it's got an oh shit button on it, so we're good with that. And then finally, Defiler of Faith. This card's going to be really good in the deck, because not only is it going to make all of your creatures less expensive, but you can pay life for those white mana pips. Pretty good. Let's get into that card draw I was talking about. Again, like, I was really surprised we had so much options to choose from. We've got Sigarda's Splendor. This one, you just gain life and you'll be drawing a card every turn. So basically like a white Phyrexian Arena. Well, it's conditional, so it's a little worse, but hey, it's something. Wedding Ring, you know, marry the blue player of the game and enjoy all your cards. Esper Sentinel. They will not be able to get rid of this guy. They'll destroy him, and then we'll bring him back with our commander, and he's just going to be there all game, and very annoying. Smuggler's Share. This is the new kind of thing they're doing. They're making like white do taxing effects, but the taxing effect is I get to draw a card. So we put that in the deck. We've also got Halo Fountain. This one's really good because it can do anything from draw us a card to create tokens to win us the game, you know? Everything the deck wants to do. Mangara the Diplomat. This one, again, those taxing effects that let us draw cards. This one's pretty good. Bonnie Brack Zoologist. This card has the potential to draw us 4 cards, right? If we create a token on each of our opponent's turn, we're going to be drawing those 4 cards. This guy is pretty insane. Sanctuary Warden. This one, it's kind of expensive, but it's card draw and creates tokens, so it's pretty good in the deck. Welcoming Vampire. We will be able to trigger this pretty good. Skull Clamp, just very efficient in a token deck, right? Archivist of Ogma. This is one of those taxing effects, right? They do something, we get to draw the card. Rumor Gatherer. This one has like no ceiling. I don't think there's a cap on the scry, right? You only get to draw one card off of it, but I don't think there's a cap on the scry, so you can just keep scrying with this, and that's going to create a lot of value. I think the consensus is every time you scry 2 or 3 times, it counts as card draw, but this one's going to be pretty good in the deck. Alright guys, let's get into that ramp. Again, pleasantly surprised at Mono's White's ability to ramp right now. Smothering Tithe, we all know this card's a house. Keeper of Accord, not only is this going to create us some tokens, maybe, but it's also going to ramp us some cards. Maybe. Battle Angel of Takir, or Tyre. This is also one of those maybe cards, right? Maybe we do a lot, maybe we don't do a lot, but this card's really good in the deck. Monologue Tax. This one, it's gonna trigger at least 2 out of the 3 times, right? Everybody's gonna want to cast as much cards as possible. They're not gonna slow their game down so you don't get a treasure token. That's why Smothering Tithe's so good, right? They can't not draw cards. That's what they need to do to win the game. So they just do it, and then Smothering Tithe just goes insane. Sceptre of Eternal Glory. This is one of those ones that 40k gave us that's really good in monocolored decks. It's just going to tap for 3 mana, and that's really good in a white deck, especially this one's low to the ground, right? I didn't want to put too much expensive cards in the deck because our commander can only realistically recur like 3 to 4 CMC, unless you go insane, right? Wayfarer's Bauble, very effective. Arcane Signet, again, just very effective ramp. Extra Planar Lens, it's a mono white deck, so just go ahead and exile one of those planes and you're off to the races. Ashnod's Altar, this is a token deck, so sacking them is going to generate a lot of mana. Soul Ring, everybody needs a Soul Ring. Burnished Heart, we can bring this back with our commander, because investing 6 mana into Burnished Heart seems kind of bad, right? But what if I told you you only have to bring it back, spend 3 mana to put 2 lands on the battlefield? That's almost better than green right there. I mean, I'm just saying. Sword of Hearth and Home, there is some ETB effects, not too many. But we really just want that land card. And it is going to boost our commander up a little bit. And then Solemn Simulacrum. Again, you bring them into the battlefield, sacrifice them, draw a card and ramp. And you can do that once a turn. Yeah, we're approaching some pretty good territories in mono white. Alright guys, let's get into the bulk of the deck. We have Archangel of Thune. This is one of the ways we're just going to buff our whole board, right? We have ways for whenever a creature enters the battlefield, we gain a life, right? So Archangel of Thune is just going to buff them every time that happens. So this card can go pretty crazy in the deck. Wandering Archaeac. This one is one of those things. Like, we're already doing taxing effects, so I might as well throw this one in here. No one's going to pay that 2 mana so you don't get their copy of stuff. So maybe you draw some cards off the blue player. Maybe you ramp some cards off the green player. This card's just going to be pretty decent in the deck. Amiria Shepherd, this one's really good because we're going to be playing a lot of planes, right? So we'll just be recurring stuff from our graveyard while we're doing that, sacking it, and getting more value, right? Which is weird because we're in white, again. Sun Titan, this one's just a staple. There's a lot of low-to-the-ground cards in the deck, so Sun Titan's going to be able to recur a lot of them. We have the ones that we're going to try to sacrifice. Kami of False Hope. This one's just like a Spore Frog. You guys ever play against Spore Frog? Well, this guy's Spore Frog, but in mono white, so enjoy that. Restoration Specialist. This is going to give us some of our important pieces back from the graveyard. Selfless Spirit. This guy's going to give our whole board indestructible, and we'll be able to do that every turn, so that's really good. Guardian of Faith, kind of same thing. He doesn't sacrifice himself, so we'll have to find a way to get him back into our graveyard. But this is going to give us protection for all board wipes. We'll know that we're going to untap with the board that we have. And in a scenario where we cast this and board wipe, it's basically Cyclonic Rift, right? We then have Paladin class. This is one of those cards that's going to win us the game if it stays on the board long enough. Our creatures are going to get massive, we're going to swing out, and people won't be able to block all of them. Dizal Guildmage. This one's basically like a white Pathbreaker Ibex. It doesn't give trample, but hey, we are going to run over our opponents with this guy. Cathar's Crusade. Again, this card's insane. I know you guys have seen it before, and the more tokens enter the battlefield, the more crazy it gets. It's one of those cards people look like, and they're like, that's pretty crazy. But once you play against it, you're like, oh my gosh. This is way worse than I thought it'd be. Okay, let's look at some of the ways we can gain life. We've got Dexos, Blessed by the Sun. Not only can this guy get massive, but he's going to gain us a life every time one of our creatures enters the battlefield. Soul's Attendant and Soul's Warden. You know, got to include the Soul Sisters in this deck. It's just going to be really effective for our commander. Reconnaissance. So if you guys don't know, there is a step after combat damage where you can activate this, and it basically gives all of your creatures vigilance. Not to mention, if maybe they block a creature and you don't want that creature to die, just remove them from combat and it's all good. There is also a lot of creatures with attack triggers, but the thing you don't want to do is attack into a creature and then they just kill it. Well, you'll be able to get the attack triggers now and then bring them back and no one dies. It's pretty good. Bastion Protector. This one's going to buff our commander up to a 5/6 and it's going to give them indestructible, so we'll be able to gain that life regardless every turn. Going to be really good in the deck. Alright guys, let's get into some removal. There's some really effective removal in this deck just because of our commander's ability. We have Cather Commando, right? So we'll be able to sack them, bring them back, and no one's going to be able to keep their pieces on the board whenever we have this guy in our graveyard. Bounty Agent. Good luck keeping your commander on the board when we have this guy in our graveyard. Cast your commander, I recur Bounty Agent, and you don't have a commander. There we go. Kami of Ancient Law. Again, we'll be able to sacrifice him to remove their important stuff. Then we have the standard stuff like Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshare, A Generous Gift. People get mad when you give them this elephant. I don't understand. Sunblast Angel. I like this one because they're going to swing out, and then you'll be able to just destroy whatever people were swinging with, which people swing with their best creatures, right? Or their strongest creatures, not their best creatures, my bad. And then Elspeth, Sun's Champion. It'd be weird if we didn't put this girl in the deck, right? She does everything we want to do. We can board wipe, we can create tokens. One-sided board wipe, notably. Speaking of one-sided board wipe, we've got Austere Command and Fell the Mighty. These two cards are going to be really good in the deck because we'll be able to wipe their board, or most of it hopefully, and keep ours untouched. That's going to do it for this deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed making this. I've never enjoyed making a mono white deck because it's always a headache to find like the niche card draw you need, and I really didn't have that issue. The only thing is those cards are a little more expensive because they're literally the best white card draw, but I'm hoping as the years goes by that we see less and less of that, right? And like I said, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.